Hi everyone, this is a post about honesty in publication. In this week's BMJ over here, you can see this lovely title, Calorie Labelling in Restaurants and Obesity. And it says here, new evidence shows modest benefit there, modest benefit. So that's the title of the BMJ this week. And it refers to a study on the inside, page 186 here, which looks at a fast food restaurant and purchases over a time period where they've implemented calorie labelling, and based on this they've shown that basically in the first week or so there's been a reduction of about 60 calories per transaction, and sort of going long term it kind of winds up to be about 20 calories overall. Now, just to get some scale of what 60 calories means, this is a chocolate biscuit which I've sawn off a little bit over here because that's 60 calories for this particular type of Oreo equivalent, and that's all it is. So that's the success on the first week. That's what people avoided, was one little biscuit's worth, or part of a biscuit's worth of calories. And long term, the 20 calories, just for the just to make this really clear, that's the other bit of the biscuit. Okay, that's about 20 calories there. So 60 calories, that was the initial short-term gain over here, and the long-term gain was this. And the comment on this study was that it's important in terms of a population-based approach to do this calorie labelling. And if you look at the population, if you roll this out, the number of calories saved over a couple of year period will inevitably sort of amount to what do they say over here? Author suggests, although modest, the reduction in energy intake could help adults lose around a pound, 0.45 kilograms over 3 years. Now, do me a favour, are you taking us for fools? This is really a very, very poor way of looking at this, because the reality is that this did not work. People will not be losing weight by avoiding eating that over a 3-year period. Do me a favour, okay? The real story over here, and the reason why it failed, is because this is a fast food restaurant. I'm just going to lift this up over here. So these are the trend line here, okay? And basically, on average, people are having 1,500 calories per transaction. Now, the number of calories you need to take on a daily basis, I've talked about that before. It really varies tremendously on your caloric requirement by your age and by your height and so on. But if we were to, let's say, assume that the average person would need to take in something in the order of about 2,500 calories per day to maintain an even keel, and that's a very, very rough calorie intake. If someone's having 1,500 calories from a single transaction at a fast food joint, imagine the number of other calories they're having during the rest of the day. Let's say they're having easily double that, so maybe 3,000 calories. So that's about a 500 calorie excess over what the actual requirement would be. People are putting on weight because of that. That's the reason why they're putting on weight. People are not going to be losing weight over having trifling reductions in the number of calories. It's really important, if we're going to be having this kind of conversation in these major journals, that important data is published, and that is important data. But the real story is, and the reason why we have an obesity crisis, is that we live, thankfully, with an abundance of calories. We live in a time of plenty, thankfully, but our bodies are just designed to hoover up as many calories as possible for those times of famine. And so that's why we have the obesity crisis that is upon us. I, of course, am in favour of having high-level interventions to try and educate people, and I think it's very important to educate people about the number of calories that they're taking in. And therefore, food labelling, I do believe, is important. But actually, this experiment was a failure. It does not show modest benefit. In fact, it shows a failure in the method of education, really. And really, we should be educating people to have a much lower caloric intake. So, a couple of calories off 1,500 calories of an average, which is about 4 to 6% or so, that's really, really trifling in the scheme of things. The big story, the big thing would be to try and reduce the number of calories that people are taking overall, to reduce that average of 1,500 calories from a transaction in this fast food chain, to bring it down to maybe 1,000 calories or so. That would be a significant reduction, or if we can reduce it down even further, or even avoid going to the fast food chain. But that's, the reality we're dealing with over here. So that's my little rant for today. I think it's really important that if we're going to be having top-tiered journals, highly respected, such as BMJ, they need to be absolutely spot on with the research that they publish. It's managed to make its way to front cover. It's managed to say on it modest benefit. It's really a trifling benefit. We need to have better ways of engaging with people and educating people. It's got to start at a young age. People have to understand the number of calories that they need and the number of calories that are being thrown at them, marketed at them, and so on. So yes, I am in favour personally of pushing education, pushing labelling. I'm not saying that labelling is a waste of time at all, but actually we need to be able to target our education in the right way, and hopefully that will have the benefits that are intended. That's it from me for today, and I'm going to enjoy a different set of about 60 calories, and that far surpasses whatever junk's in this thing. So wishing you a great Sunday, all the very best.